We are live, everybody here in the Warriors. Please make sure before I start talking and lose track that you subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed to the Warriors channel because we're finding out from friends of ours that some of our Warriors are being unsubscribed. So I must ask you to double check that. Hit the little bell, likes, whatever it takes, because we are working constantly to build algorithms so we can share real information, facts, truths with you, things you need to know about, headlines, all kinds of things, whether it's things coming out of Washington, coming out of state capitals, coming out of Hollywood. And I put that in kind of those air quotes, even though it's video and you can see me. But welcome, everybody. Let's get to it. This is a New York City kind of sweater, heavy sweater day. It just hit 38 degrees here, which is not that cold. However, they tell us it feels like 27, and I've been out all day, and it is dark and cold here in New York City. But good news is lighting up of the Rockefeller Christmas tree tonight. So that's always a very festive and lovely occasion, bringing some holiday cheer. So welcome, everybody. I see Edie Crowley there. Edie, thank you. Please remember to hit the like on the way in, and Lyle Nation is here. And I want to say to Edie, thank you so much, Edie. I've been a little bit remiss because I've been a busy warrior. Once Thanksgiving kicks in with the giveaways and the food banks and all of the work we do at the Warriors and survivor support, I get a little sidetracked, but you sent beautiful, beautiful artwork. I have several envelopes from you with artwork and that will go to survivors. And you sent a piece to me and to my better half. And thank you for taking the time. Thank you for thinking of the survivors. It gives them so much joy. I was with a group a couple of days ago doing art therapy, and they just break down eventually and cry. They can't believe people are so nice to them, but they'll tell me few and far between. So they're talking about the Warriors, and that is all what it's about, is having somebody look at me, look at the Warriors and say, thank you because we gave them a pair of socks. Thank you because I gave them an envelope and you did some artwork and there's a note attached to it. That empowers them like you cannot believe. It is the best medicine in the world. I want to start out with a couple of questions. I want to ask everybody, we have so many missing kids in the United States. There is a terrible case that has been eating at me since September 24th, 2024, a couple of short months ago. Her name is Stephanie Damron, 14-year-old girl from New Sweden, Maine. Now, I want to keep following up on this. We know from law enforcement that we work with, the most critical is the first 48 hours in finding a child. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying the first 48, you have your best chance. So we've got Stephanie Damron, 14 years old. Her sister and parents, here's what they reported. The parents were not home. They never say where they were. I'll get to that in a minute. The sister says we had a fight and she walked off into the woods behind our house in her boots, a shirt and jeans, something like that, never to be found again. Now, why this story is so upsetting for me and is eating at me is because the parents will have nothing to do with the investigation. Did you hear what I said? Nothing to do with the investigation. If your child is missing, I would assume, and for cases we have worked on or know about, you empty your bank account to hire private investigators. You break into the piggy banks of the kids to get out the money to hire somebody. You put up those missing person signs all over. You may want to create a GoFundMe. Whatever you do everything in your power to find your precious child. These two parents will have nothing to do with it. The FBI just put out that statement. And they also put out, we are awarding $15,000 to anybody who has information leading to Stephanie. And I just can't understand. It's such a red flag that the parents, why? And they won't say anything about the case or participate in anything. Now, again, we need proof of something, right? I was diving into their history a little bit. In the past, they've been cited for abuses of their children and different cases, a couple of different cases. But what happened to this 14-year-old girl? So she's not a little girl, and she's not a big girl, but she's 14. And she's not contacting, or nobody has seen her. And she walked off without, I believe, a coat or anything on. Did her parents do something to her? Did her parents sell her to a trafficker? I mean, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but where is Stephanie Damron? So here's what I want to say. If you're in the vicinity of New Sweden, Maine, please, if you see anything, I'll be posting more information about this. You call 911. That is what you call immediately, right? To say you saw something. Better to be safe than sorry. If you're wrong, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be held accountable. We have to find this girl. But I just can't believe, can you believe the parents will have nothing to do with the case, will not comment, will not participate, will do zero. So that to me is very fishy, as it is to you probably. And I want to bring this case and all the cases. There are so many missing kids. What's happening to all the kids? We have to remain vigilant despite everything else going on, world wars, all kinds of elections, all kinds of new administration. We have to remain in our lanes and stay on these topics constantly. Lots going on. The other thing I want to talk about is a couple of things you should be aware of, especially if you have kids or grandkids in the family. And that is Warner Brothers is coming out with a new streaming series. You know, they're not TV shows anymore. They are streaming series because things are being streamed. Hulu, Netflix, all that jazz. It is called Madam. And it stars Rachel Griffiths, an actress, and she plays, hear this one out. They're calling it a sex worker comedic drama. Did you hear me? Sex worker comedic drama about a brothel owner. Ding, ding, ding. A couple of things here. There's nothing comedic about a brothel. That's number one. There's nothing good except exploitation about a brothel. That's number two. Drama, I'll give you there's drama at a brothel, but we know from women we have spoken to, we know of the stories, we know from law enforcement that, again, and people never understand this, a lot of these women in the brothels are indeed trafficked, right? They're forced, they're coerced into these jobs, and you have to remember psychological damage. They do not have the wherewithal. You know, people say, why don't they walk away? They can't. Trauma bonds. They're traumatized. They stay wherever they can put their head on a pillow or get a hamburger. They don't know what to do, right? And a lot of these women in the brothels really do not have free will like most people think. So we have to have these notions. We have to erase them. We have to, in 2024, I mean, really, 2025 is right here, understand things, okay? Brothels, exploitation. So this show, Madam, Rachel Griffiths, and it's interesting because I was just watching, I like to binge on old series to see character developments, storylines, things like that. Usually, 1, 2, 3 in the morning when we stop working. And I've been watching this series, if any of you remember, Brothers and Sisters. Does anybody remember that series, Brothers and Sisters? It was on ABC on Sunday nights. And Rachel Griffiths is an actress in this. She's one of the sisters. And I'm enjoying the program. I'm almost at the end. I should finish it off tonight, the 5 seasons. And I was just thinking, where is Rachel Griffiths? Because I haven't seen her in anything. And lo and behold, the next day, this popped up that she will be starring in Madam. And it is selling like gangbusters, according to Variety. But remember what I tell you. Unless I wrote it or Mr. L, my husband, or maybe some of you, double check, dig deeper. Can't believe everything you read. So anyway, Madam is selling like hotcakes in the Philippines and Thailand. And that rang a bell for me because those are 2 of the biggest places for trafficking. But this comedic drama, their words, not mine. Sex workers, again, a term we do not use. These are prostituted people. Sex is not work. Work is not sex. I don't care what the media tells you, what people tell you. Sex worker. Okay, that is a term coined from the sex workers trying to normalize and habituate your children, right? Your grandchildren, that you can grow up and you can be a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, a grave digger, and a sex worker. It's all part of the scene of making money. I'm here to say, absolutely wrong. Exploitation, plenty of studies that will argue this and agree with me. Let's see who else is here. We have Kristen Lee. Yes, I remember that show. Yep, Brothers and Sisters. Kim, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kim. And Hot Cars. Tony is here. Good day, good people. But I want to tell you about this series. And Rachel Griffiths plays a mother, and she finds out that her husband has been visiting sex workers. So she decides, and the family is strapped for money, and it's taking place in New Zealand. Oh, by the way, New Zealand is a place that has legalized prostitution, but we'll get into that in a minute. And she plays a mom, and they need money in the household. And she's annoyed that her husband's seeing sex workers. I think I'd be a little more than annoyed if my husband was seeing sex workers. And she says, you know what? I'm going to start with friends of mine an ethical feminist brothel. No such thing. Really, no such thing as an ethical feminist brothel. Right away, and you must listen to me on this because I know people get upset. They fight me on this. The minute money's exchanged, that depletes everything. There is a power dynamic over a vulnerable. Now, just think about that before you say anything. But this series, I'm sure, because it was in Variety, it came out yesterday, will be coming. This is, there was something on Netflix a few years ago, if you remember, there was a series called Cuties, these little girls that were part of a dance troupe, and it was very sexualized, and there was a lot of pushback for maybe 48 hours. Their costumes, and they were like 11 years old, and there was all kinds of stuff. Everybody jumped on the bandwagon, but then it just went away. And the Netflix Cuties movie streamed, and nothing ever happened. But this is a series. So I know they are warming us up, Warner Brothers, who's behind this, to, I should say, Warner Brothers Discovery, or Warner Discovery now. They've all merged, and so I think it's Warner Discovery now. We'll be presenting this. This will be slipped onto like a Netflix. We'll just see it there one day. But this is a horrible thing for a variety of reasons. Glamorizing comedy brothels, no way. Kind of glamorizing comedy prostitution, no way. A mom in front of her two teenage kids, no way. They have no money. Sex work is the only option, no way. So again, this is more habituation and normalization. So be on the lookout. It's called Madam, M-A-D-A-M, but I'll keep you informed about all because you don't want your kids stumbling upon this. And certainly, teenagers, yeah, it's hard to control them, or they think they know everything, and they're pretty smart and savvy, but like if they're going to see a show like this, they stumble upon it. I use that word stumble. You at least have to have a voice and explain to them what is going on. There's Virginia saying, hi, Lynn. Hello, Virginia. Welcome. And there are a couple of other things. So be aware of that. Again, none of this is let up. And it falls by the wayside because so many other things are happening right now. Right now, we've got the election. We've got something in Congress called lame duck session, meaning old administration until new administration, January 20th. Nobody does anything. When nobody does anything, that's when the predators swoop in. Things happen. Things change. Nobody's keeping an eye on the ball. So we've got that. And also we've got Belgium, who passed the first of its kind law in the world, where they will, another place which has legalized prostitution, they will be having maternity leave for sex workers. Again, their words, not mine. And also they will be having pensions. And I ask a simple question that I can't get an answer to. Is this maternity leave due to one of their sex buyers? It's due to they're married and get I don't know. Nobody seems to have a clear-cut story on this one, nor does actual mainstream media ever cover any of this. I found a little blurb about it in the BBC, and that's where I started investigating. But places like Germany, Netherlands, New Zealand, we have Greece, these places that have legalized prostitution and have had it for many, many years, the studies have shown the women are no better off. These pensions, these maternity leaves, they're going to control their destiny, their monies. They're going to make money. They're going to pick and choose who they want to have, buy them. Doesn't work. Places like Germany with 10-floor brothels, you get your package deals, a girl, a brat, and something else. And I know it's a family show, Warriors, but we have to talk about these issues because everything happening around the world, it's coming here. A lot of it's already here. We just don't realize it, right? So many of law enforcement tells me so many of these um, massage places, nail salons are so rife with human trafficking. And there's just not, the man or woman power to go in, investigate what to do with people. The laws aren't being enforced, of course, in a lot of cities like my hometown of New York City. Um, and so they don't do anything. So can you imagine? They said that is the one place these these salons, and I use that word loosely as well, that goes unchecked. Such human rights abuses right under our noses, right? And remember, our kids are seeing this, hearing about it, something about it. So, be very aware. Again, if you see something, New York, these salons are on every other corner, but you might be out in the suburbs. When we're out in the car and go to other places, I see so many of these nail salons, and I always say to my husband, I don't understand. There's one area we drive through in New Jersey, and it's a little shopping kind of corner. I'm going to say maybe 20 stores total. It's not a strip mall. I don't want to even name the place, but we just drive through it. And a couple of shops, a couple of restaurants, a post office, a gym, and there's 4 of these nail salons right there. And this is kind of a neighborhood area with the old-fashioned corner shops, but just a few more than a corner shop. And I'm always like, how do they make the competition? How are they making the rent? How many nail places do you need? And so that lends itself to questioning and suspicion, correct? So if you are in one of these places and you sense something, you see a worker, they usually do not talk at all, they look down. It's okay to make a report, 911. You're not going to get in trouble. Don't go crazy. Just very nicely report it and let them take over and investigate. Again, you will not be held accountable. But we can't have this because, the next thing is your daughter goes in and gets a manicure and she's going, now we haven't heard this yet because these nail salons and massage places are pretty much all from Asia, Ecuador, all, that kind of thing. But I bet you American girls are going to start getting trafficked through these places. It hasn't happened yet, and I certainly don't want to give anybody any kind of ideas here. But if you're here, you're not doing that kind of stuff. You're a warrior. That's going to happen next. You'll have a 16-year-old go in for a manicure, and she'll be approached. It's usually a lot of women involved in this. Uh, there's a man usually behind the scenes, but the women do the dirty work because the woman can be like the big sister, the mother figure that a vulnerable kid or young woman doesn't have and can kind of cozy up to them. So I bet you this is going to start very soon. So be on the lookout. We all have to do something. Flojo says, it has probably already happened many times in America with traffic. I think you mean traffickers. Yeah, I think so. And I was just reading an article also about Joe Francis. Does anybody here? I know there's a lag on the chat. Do you remember who Joe Francis is? Anybody? Think about it for a minute before I tell you about Joe Francis. But there is Tammy, hi Lynn and chat. Hello, Tammy. Welcome for joining us. On this cold afternoon. Joe Francis. Anybody here? Do you remember Joe Francis? Come on now. And don't be Googling Joe Francis. Do you remember Joe Francis? Anybody? Anything? The lag should be up. Okay. I'm going to start. So Joe Francis, and it's funny because I was just thinking about him not long ago, and don't ask me why. But decades ago, he started doing the, Girls Gone Wild. And if you remember those videos, he would get like everyday girls, college girls, young women to like lift up their tops and go crazy on beaches or walking, I don't know, on a college campus or something. And I remember thinking, and it was way before I was a warrior, this is weird. This is exploitation. How is he allowed to get away with this? And also, at least Tony admits, sorry, I haven't heard the name before. Okay. And now, Tony, hold on about the Mardi Gras. That's a different story. But Joe Francis became a celebrity. And I would see like all these celebrities in Hollywood, right, hang out with Joe Francis. I even think Shannon Doherty, remember her from Beverly Hills 90210? I think she married him. She was married to him for a while. And he was the producer, director of Girls Gone Wild. It was supposed to be, remember the DVDs? This could have been like late 80s, early 90s, through the 90s. And I remember looking, just seeing like stats in Variety, Hollywood Reporter, how those DVDs were making so much money. But then again, we all know, right? Sex sells. Okay. I don't know why. You think everybody, there's so much of it around us. Like, I'm just going to make a comment here. You think people would be bored. Okay. Another program for that one. But so I remember thinking, all these celebrities would like be at parties. They'd be in the, remember, it's before really people were using the camera phones and all that. So you'd see it on page 6 of the New York Post or any of those Inquirer type things. And it would always be, they're at the Playboy Mansion. He's there with the Kardashians. And that's where I really started taking notice. Like that whole family would be cozying up to this Joe Francis. And I thought, that's weird because the 2 little Kardashian girls were like little girls then 20 years ago. Like he's part of the family. He's a celebrity. This is a great guy. I think one of them, the oldest one, I believe, dated him for a while, or so they said. Remember, people do things for publicity. They're not really dating. But I came across this article today that there is a new documentary being done on him. He moved a couple of years ago. He took off. He left America. I guess he saw the writing on the wall because not only were they doing these kind of salacious acts, but they were behind the scenes. These are the allegations that I read about, drugging girls to do crazier things, plying them with alcohol to do crazier things. And he's kind of on the run. This is the way I look at it. And he's living in Mexico. They say a very quiet life. But now that this documentary will be coming out, I think it'll shed some light and let's see what goes on here, right? I don't know your thoughts on all of this, but exploitation. So again, I bring this up because these are things that this documentary, and they didn't name it yet where it will be, like lands it on Netflix or something. Your kids might come across it when they're looking for a TV show. They might innocently be looking for, I don't know, a cartoon or something, and come across this. And you need to be armed to know what's going on and at least explain it if they come across, who's Joe Francis and what about girls lifting their tops? Not over-explain, age appropriately, but you gotta know what's going on. There's so much going on around us. I also have been spending time, whether it's survivors or just different young women, I will say, in early 20s. And a couple of different ones that don't know each other. They tell me something interesting. They've been going back, because I'll ask questions, everybody to me. Yes, Kristen, Shannon was on Little House on the Prairie too. You make me, you make me think of, that was a great show. I actually recently was on MeTV or something, and I was watching some of the episodes. I actually worked as a producer on the road show. It went around the country. Little House on the Prairie, the road tour, and it sold like gangbusters because moms were coming with their daughters, with the grandmas, all different generations. And I really had high hopes it would land like every year as a Christmas show or something, around Broadway, holiday time, Thanksgiving. And for reasons, it just didn't. Okay. But it began at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey. That's the first show, and the phones crashed. And this was around 2009. We did this. So it's before they were even computerized, I remember. And I remember thinking it was kind of the advent for local-ish theaters to be all computerized and stuff, but the phones crashed, this crashed. They told me, the 2 women, these 2 grandmas, they were so sweet. I remember working the merchandise, they couldn't keep up with the merchandise sales. Not only were people buying new books and paper dolls and necklaces with little figures on them, they were bringing their old books to get. Melissa Gilbert was starring as the mom in it across the road to her. She was a big draw. So, and she has a company now. It's doing quite well, I understand. I think it's called Modern Prairie. You can find it online, and she's back to baking pies, and she's on, I think it's upstate New York she lives, and she's selling, the garb, and she's sewing, and she's cleaning, and it's all kinds of nice prairie stuff. Anyway, I digress with that one. Tony says, it's just your top half. Where's the harm? Well, it's just one step toward desensitizing, acclimating. Before you know it, you're expected to attend a party by a rapper. Well, Tony, exactly. You know, look, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm sharing information. I'm sharing some things for you to think about with the focus on perhaps some things you got to be aware of to talk to your kids about, your grandkids about. Maybe you're a teacher. You know, you got to know what's going on. It's a whole different kind of thing happening here. But these young people, let me get back to that. The ones who didn't know each other, I said were in their early 20s, they were telling me that they're like binging. They're watching Friends. They're watching Seinfeld. They're watching those kind of like 90s shows. And they told me because they want to see, and they're watching old Law and Orders. They want to see what New York used to look like. I thought this was interesting. So they're going back to see. And they would say, one said to me on Monday, Friends, oh, they really lived like that in apartments? I said, well, people had a lot of roommates, not necessarily those kind of apartments, but yes, you get the idea. And that was the advent of the coffee shop. You know, in New York, I remember like maybe mid-90s, they weren't these chains we have now, but these coffee spots would start, you know, with couches and things would pop up. And you never had that before. And you come in and you can just sit around. And that was before people were using computers in these places. It was like a whole unique kind of thing. So they were very fascinated. And also the whole Seinfeld thing they were fascinated with. So that's kind of a good thing. They're looking at that. But be aware. Now that we have 5 million thousand channels streaming, whatever you have going on, you pay for all these services, undoubtedly. Be aware what's happening because even cartoons can be a little traumatizing. A lot of them have like adult-ish themes, sort of. So you got to be just careful with stuff. I also, you know, in Tennessee today, so I believe I have to get an update on this. It's 3:30 almost here in New York, that the Supreme Court was upholding the rules that Tennessee put forth for this gender affirming care. Doesn't that sound sweet? Gender affirming care. I'm sorry to be a little brash here, but like cutting off body parts when somebody's 10 years old doesn't seem like that nice gender affirming care, right? It's mutilation. It's mutilation. But the Supreme Court has ruled they are upholding. I want to double check on that before there's a final answer. Maybe somebody can look at that because it was a little while ago seeming they were going in that direction, which means in Tennessee, you cannot give out puberty blockers to minors. You can't give out the hormones. Let's leave the kids alone. When they're 18, let them decide. Even then, there's discussion, but that's a legal adult. Let's see what's going on here. Lionel Nation, does the term modesty even apply anymore in conversations? I don't even ever hear the word modesty. I think the habituation and normalization of showing your bodies, you know, even yesterday. Now, ladies especially, can you weigh in about this? So if you're familiar with Valerie Bertinelli, it popped up. These algorithms pop up like on my Instagram and things. And here I am putting, you know, a missing child or something. And okay, Valerie Bertinelli. Remember her one more time. America's Sweetheart at one point she was called. I might be dating myself, but I remember all this from the 80s, late 70s. And she's standing in a bathroom mirror in a bikini. And it was something like, and I'm paraphrasing, like, don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm happy with myself. I'm free in the last 2 years. And I'm just thinking, okay, I'm sorry. Do you have to stand in your bikini in the bathroom mirror taking a selfie? The photo actually appeared to me to be airbrushed. I'm not 100%. Looked a little airbrushed to me. Obviously, she thinks she looks good. This is her validation, like many women and girls. But the point is, if I think Valerie's around my age, so we're in our 60s. If our girls are seeing this, they're going to emulate it. They're going to think this is what we do. We stand around in our bikinis talking. You know, you want to stand in your bikini, talk to your husband or boyfriend, really, okay? You're going to stand there. Remember, putting yourself online is opening yourself up to the world. It's opening your front door and allowing the world in, right? And we lock our front doors for the most part, most of us, but we're not locking our devices. Think about that. I'm thinking, oh, Valerie, Everybody likes you. Why can't you just be Valerie? Why do you have to stand there in the bikini? Right? Throw that out the window. Where's the empowerment? Where's the let's be smart? Where's the I got something sent to me today, in Afghanistan. And we focus on America, our own backyard at the Warriors. I always say that. But let me just go back, Lionel Nation. There is no modesty anymore. I'm just going to, because I don't hear the word, I don't hear anybody talking about it. But it's something we talk to young women about. We don't judge, but we talk about, you're better than this. If a few of you come together, you can take care of each other. And if somebody gets weak, you can kind of bounce off of each other like you're better than this. Like you don't have to get a boy's attention by doing that kind of thing. There's power in numbers, and the girls seem to like it, the groups we get together. So this is the kind of thing, and starting at a very young age, that we have to start teaching. But let's get back to Afghanistan. I have to say, Afghanistan. So we focus on America at the Warriors. But I have to tell you, I am irate. All these feminists, all these big mouths, all these this, that, and the other thing, they do not talk about the women of Afghanistan who've just been told you have to leave medical schools if you're in them. You cannot become a doctor. No education. This is like a whole big thing blowing up in the last 24 hours. It's bad enough. They can now also they cannot speak in public unless a male, father, brother, husband says you're allowed to speak. They also have to be covered even more. It was, like here, and now it's like 2 eyeballs. And none of these feminists, and I'm going to say around the United States, that talk about, empowerment of women globally and our sisters, and let's raise money and this and that for nothing, crickets, nothing. It's horrendous, the hypocrisy, horrendous. And I won't sidetrack with other things happening right here in the United States. I did receive something today where this whole kind of op-ed was written about, let's see, let me clean it up a little bit. How men in power in the United States, whether it's show business or the government, how can this be when they're fighting our body autonomy and they're convicted felons and this and that, and they're, ruling the world, ruling the country. I think you can read between the lines. First of all, nobody said anything about, okay, we'll get a little political here, Hunter Biden and prostitutes and the drugs and all this kind of stuff. I didn't hear a peep out of anybody. So unless you're going to do it for both sides, right, and equal at it, I say go away. That kind of thing. Let's see. Joseph said, Mrs. L, you're the best. Thank you very much. I see you shining. Star, great light on hard truths. Hard truths, but you know what? I want everybody to really think about the kids, even if you don't have kids. Think about these are our future adults, our future leaders, and how scary that is because of all the things they're seeing. We can't even get the one piece of legislation, and there's still time in this lame duck session until January 20th when the new Congress, the new administration takes over, but something as simple as Kids Online Safety Act. And I just today was invited back, come to DC. Why? How many offices do I have to walk in and be met with blank stares that agree, always with no emotion? It's weird, Washington, there's like no sense of humor. There's no lightening up. I don't want to think people should be slapping each other on the backs and telling each other jokes. But when you go in these offices, after all, we're constituents. We are working on behalf of the total United States. Come on now, smile once in a while. Offer somebody a glass of water. Do something. There's no skills like that. But anyway, why should I go and parade in and out of offices and have people agree with me? Everything's bad. We're going to do our best. Because nothing's happening. Which is why it is so important to honor our warriors. # community creates change. As hard as this is, we cannot be discouraged. We have to empower each other, stay in our lanes, get it done in our homes, get it done in our communities. And that's a warrior's move. And then, of course, when I ask you to sign on to anything where we need names and zip codes, you got to do it for me. If you haven't done Kids Online Safety Act, What do I tell you? For 3 years, I've been telling you. House.gov, Senate.gov, sign on. We need numbers. It could still happen. It is a bipartisan bill. Oh, and let me leave you with this. Oh, let me see. Tony says The Equalizer with Edward Woodward is my Sunday night viewing these days. I don't binge watch. Saturday is Due South. Both good shows. All right, Tony, that's good. I don't know. I binge. The work we do at the Warriors is, I don't realize it because we're on go, go, go all day long, is actually very depleting. But I don't think that way because I'm a very positive person and we get a lot done and a lot of great stuff is happening behind the scenes. But, when you 11, 12 at night, I have to admit that's when I binge because it's numb. It's not mind thinking. If, you're watching Brothers and Sisters or Mary Tyler Moore show or Carol Burnett show, you're just watching it and that's it. You're not thinking about anything else. But I do want to finish up with, in this holiday season, I remind all of you warriors out there to please be very careful about posting pictures online. Think very carefully. We know you're proud of your children. We know you want to share and have everybody say, look at my family. We know it's that feeling you don't want to be left out. Please try to resist it. Those small children and grandchildren will grow up to be adults, and they didn't consent to being blasted all over online. With the advent of AI, which is here, it just has not been fully unleashed. They will pick up faces and put them on bodies and do all sorts of things. I think you know what I mean. So be very, very careful about sharing to the world. Make sure you have your safety features, your filters. It's friends only. Talk to the kids about that. Really be careful about putting the kids' pictures online, because I can't even explain to you what we're hearing from law enforcement, from tech experts across the globe. But what you should know is the bottom line is, Lynn, this will most likely do more harm than good, all of this new technology. Again, it's not going away, so we have to be on top of it. So I leave you with that. I leave you with, it's going to be a wonderful night here in New York. We've got the Christmas tree lighting. People are happy. We like to see happy people. The streets in New York are packed. And please, we don't know the story yet of Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO who was targeted, shot down. It's funny because I was walking from West Side to East Side this morning and saw right in front of the Hilton Hotel, the side of it, I saw this police activity. But of course, I didn't know what was going on or look into it. I just kept walking. You keep walking in New York, right? And you never stop when there's a lot of police activity. And then by the time I got to my destination, I saw news alerts. We don't know what happened, but this was, 6:45 in the morning. Very blatant. Be safe out there. Talk to your kids about safety. You be safe. And everybody, hug your kids, love your neighbor, love yourselves. Remember, this is a great time. A lot of people buying Christmas trees here in New York. It makes me very happy. Early. This is early to be buying trees, right? And I saw it all the day after Thanksgiving. So that's a good sign that people want to celebrate Christmas. They want to have family. They want to have community. And we want that for you. Warriors, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay alert for our next live show. Thank you to all of you out there who donate, who volunteer, who've sent tremendous amount of toys for our toy drive. We've got 3 different things coming up starting this Friday. You've made a lot of little warriors very, very happy. And remember, community creates change. What do I always tell you? Each and every day, go enjoy the rest of your day, but wake up and go out and be a warrior. Thanks, everybody.